In this video, I'll explain why after saving up for a long time to buy a long-awaited console to enjoy games, you often end up barely using it. Instead, it just sits there collecting dust, and you start wondering, why did I even buy this? Sounds familiar? Well, there's a psychological explanation for this. And today, I'll tell you why it happens and how to fix it. Also, if you've watched my previous video about PCs, I'll point out a big difference in this situation. So don't be lazy, watch this video till the end, it's gonna be interesting. Let's get started. At the beginning, I usually like to share my personal story on the topic because it creates empathy with the viewers and all that. But this time, to be honest, I don't really have a story to tell because I've never owned a console in my life. And honestly, I never even dreamed of having one, since I always wanted a PC instead. But now, because I'm tired of sitting at my desk all the time, I'm considering buying a console just for gaming. However, I do have some doubts about it, especially because I know a lot of people who choose a console over a PC, mostly PlayStation. Now, looking at them, I see that some have already sold their consoles, while for others, it just sits at home collecting dust. For example, I have a friend whose parents gifted him a PS4 Pro in 2019. Along with it, he got God of War, Horizon Zero Dawn, GTA 5, and some random game whose name I don't remember. On the first day, he spent 16 hours playing and completed most of the missions in GTA 5. 2 weeks later, he had finished all the games that came with the console. He was so excited and happy with his PlayStation that he played non-stop for a whole month, buying and finishing many games. At that time, all he ever talked about was gaming. And honestly, that makes sense. If someone gifts you a PS4, of course you'd be excited. I would be too. Back then, I used to visit his house every day just to play FIFA 20, since I didn't have a PlayStation myself. Those were fun times. I started a career mode as a football player, learned a lot of new things like power shoots, different skill moves, through passes, and so on. I played a lot, until of course it eventually got boring. But after 2 months of playing on his console, I realized there weren't really any more games that interested me. I played a little God of War and some GTA 5, but I never really liked playing story-driven games on PlayStation. I preferred using a keyboard and mouse, and in any case, I had already completed those games on my PC. Apart from FIFA, I wasn't playing anything else, so I stopped using his console and visiting his house altogether. He, on the other hand, kept grinning every day, until he also got bored after about 3-4 months. And here comes the most interesting and familiar part. As soon as he got bored, he just stopped playing entirely. The PlayStation stayed under his TV for years, never being used. He would only turn it on when guests came over and were surprised that he had a PlayStation. Or he would bring it to parties so we could play FIFA or UFC together. But after a while, I started noticing that his PlayStation had moved inside his closet, buried under other stuff. When I asked him why he stopped playing, he always gave the same kind of answers. It got boring, or I already finished all the games. Basically, he entered the phase where he wasn't even interested in turning it on. And after about a year and a half, he ended up selling his console to some businessmen who run internet cafes. That was it. After owning the PlayStation for a year and a half, he had only actively played for about 3-4 months. And it wasn't because he didn't have time. He had all the time in the world. But instead of gaming, he just spent his time scrolling through social media, watching YouTube, and doing nothing. Don't get me wrong, everyone deserves entertainment. I'm just describing how he ended up trading gaming on his console for mindless social media browsing. I've experienced something similar after building my PC, and I've already shared that story, but here's the difference. A computer is not a gaming console. Even if you lose interest in games, you can use your PC for video editing, programming, or even just socializing on Discord. Basically, you can do anything, so it's easy to find another use for it. But a console isn't that simple. If you get bored of games, there's nothing else to do on it. The whole point of a console is gaming. That's why I'm sure many people struggle with this issue. And now I'll explain why this happens. And of course, I'll share a good solution to this problem. One of the reasons this happens is the difference between expectation and reality. For example, let's say you decided a year ago to start saving for a console. Of course, you'd be excited about this goal because your life finally has some kind of material purpose. Sure, it might be a short-term goal, but you wouldn't really worry about that. At the beginning or even during the process of saving up, it feels like once you buy the console, you'll continue feeling the same excitement you do now. Or maybe even more happiness, because you'll finally own the gaming console you've been waiting for. We don't usually think about anything else. We imagine that once we get the console, everything will be exciting and magical. You start planning how you'll play, telling yourself that after work you'll come home, relax, and play a few games, or that on weekends seconds you'll spend the whole day gaming. But the moment you actually buy it, you're met with disappointment rather than happiness. What you mostly feel is emptiness, caused by overly high expectations. Because no game will ever be worth that level of anticipation. Your expectations end up being far more exciting than the actual purchase itself. And this happens with everything, not just consoles. It happens because you've already experienced the console in some way. Maybe you played it at a friend's house, in an internet cafe, or maybe you just watched reviews or streamers playing it with their fake excited reactions meant for content. In those moments, you mistook temporary euphoria for something everlasting. You might have thought that excitement would last forever once you owned the console yourself. What I'm trying to say is that we take our expectations too seriously. Honestly, it's actually more fun to play on a console that was given to you as a surprise rather than one you saved up for and bought yourself. Because when you get a gift, you don't expect anything from it. But even that isn't always the case. Sometimes there are other reasons why you lose interest in gaming. And that brings me to gaming fatigue, which is the second biggest reason for losing interest in gaming after expectations. My friend's story perfectly illustrates this. As I mentioned before, he played games all the time because he loved it. We all have things we love doing at certain points in our lives. That's what we call a hobby or passion, whatever you prefer. Going back to my earlier point about a gifted console being more enjoyable than one you saved up for, what I meant is that with a gift you don't have time to build expectations. You're not constantly thinking, soon I'll buy my dream console and enjoy every second of it. Instead, it just appears in your life unexpectedly. As a result, even games you never planned to play will feel fun. And you might play for weeks or months until inevitably you get bored again. And then you'll return to the same emotions I'm describing in this video. Even though a gifted console is better in terms of excitement, it still won't save you from the second stage of boredom, gaming fatigue. This stage works the same way as a job or a relationship. Let me give you a simple example for other areas of life. Why do famous people try to stay hidden while many others dream of being famous? Why do older people sometimes say, I regret marrying the wrong person, while single people just want to find anyone? Why do people with new, expensive cars sometimes avoid driving unless absolutely necessary, while those who walk would love to have even an old car? It's because we are all human, not robots. We chase the high of the first experience and don't realize that after some time we'll get bored of it. Like everything else, it eventually becomes just another part of our daily routine. The same thing happens with gaming. Before you buy a console, everything about gaming seems exciting. But once you see it from a different perspective, you realize it's not quite what you expected. And with time, you'll start feeling tired of gaming, saying things like, I guess I'm just growing up. But in reality, growing up is just becoming accustomed to the world around you. It's the ability to predict what will happen next. There are so many things in life we haven't even tried yet, but they already seem boring to us. So let's talk about some solution to this problem. The first solution to this problem is, of course, to avoid setting overly high expectations for your purchase. Yes, obviously that's difficult because expectations are a feeling that aren't easily controlled by logic, but you can trick your brain. Let me explain how. First, try this. Rent a console you want for a day or even a week. This helps you avoid excessive expectations and lets you see reality without rose-tinted glasses. Once you have it for a day, truly immersing yourself in the experience, play as long as you can without distractions. If you get bored after just an hour or two, I'm sorry, but congratulations, you just realized that buying a console would be a complete waste of money for you. But if you genuinely enjoy gaming and can play for hours, then congratulations again. You've just confirmed that the purchase would be worthwhile for you. However, try to mentally downplay the significance of buying a console. Treat it like any other past purchase, whether it was a smartphone, a computer, or something else. Look at those items. Do you still actively enjoy them every day? Think about it deeply. Once you do, all the exaggerated expectations will fade, and you'll end up enjoying the games themselves more than the purchase of the console. That's the solution for managing expectations. Now, let's discuss the solution for gaming fatigue. If you feel burned out from gaming, simply recognize that feeling and say out loud, I'm just temporarily tired of playing. We are all human and we deserve breaks. That's just how we are. What can you do? Once you acknowledge your fatigue, give yourself time to recover. Let your console sit and collect dust for a while. Or better yet, rent it out and let it make some money for you in the meantime. As for yourself, take a break from all dopamine-heavy activities similar to gaming. Try to cut down on endless scrolling, binge-watching movies, and anything else that overstimulates your brain. Instead, explore different forms of entertainment. Read books, not motivational ones, but ones that genuinely interest you. Take solo walks in your city, visit new and unfamiliar places, or go for a drive or an electric scooter ride if walking isn't appealing. In short, let your brain start from dopamine for an extended period. After some time, when you return to gaming, you'll find it exciting again, and you might get hooked all over again for a while. And if you get bored again, you can simply repeat this cycle. I hope this advice helps improve your life in some way, and that this video was at least interesting or helpful. Thanks for watching, take care.